was on the very gross anatomy of the thyroid. That is important to start the class on thyroid with, because there are small MCQs and there are small tidbits to discuss, and examiners love to ask this question on the thyroid. Now let us talk about, after we have talked about arteries and veins, now is the time to talk about nerves and the thyroid, which is an interesting point. Now, somewhat important from an MBBS point, but probably it is extremely important for an MCQ point. And if you have been in ENT, particularly if you are in the ENT MBBS, then ENT guys talk about lots and lots about this nerves and the story about the nerve. Now, before we start with this arteries and veins, and you had a recap about superior thyroid, inferior thyroid artery, I even told you an MCQ artery called as an arteria thyroidea ima. In the vein, I told you about the superior thyroid vein, the middle thyroid vein, the inferior thyroid vein, and something called as the fourth vein or the internal jugular vein. So this completes the description. Now let us talk about the next two parts on something called as the nerve supply of the larynx and the relationship to the thyroid gland. The nerve supply of the larynx and the relationship to the thyroid gland. So let us talk about this part to start the day with. Now, before I start about this day, it is always important to make a table or to make a flow chart for your exams and to make a good note. As I have said, what is this yellow structured thing that I drew in the carotid sheet?
Fat.
Vagus nerve.
Vegas nerve.
Is the vagus nerve. Very good.
nerve.
Right. Now let us talk about this nerve called vagus. And what I will do is that I will talk about the branches of the vagus and what is the important thing about that thing in your neck, etc. Now, when you talk about the vagus, just a second. Now, just a minute, please. When I talk about the vagus in relation with the larynx gives two nerves. One is called as the superior laryngeal nerve, and another one is called as the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So there are two nerves that we know. One is superior laryngeal and one is recurrent laryngeal. Now, what is the superior laryngeal nerve doing? The superior laryngeal nerve again divides into two branches. Please take this down because this is a single summary about all things that you should know in these nerve stories. Okay. So there are two nerves. One is called as an external laryngeal and another one is called as internal laryngeal. One is external laryngeal and another one is internal laryngeal. As you can understand, something that is outside the larynx is external laryngeal, which is inside the larynx is internal laryngeal. Some very simple. And what it does is this internal laryngeal pierces which membrane? The thyroid membrane. MCQ point. To go into which structure? Inside the larynx. So superior laryngeal, internal laryngeal, okay. And internal laryngeal, remember, is a sensory nerve which supplies the larynx up to the vocal cord, which supplies the larynx or the mucous membrane of the larynx. MM is the mucous membrane of the larynx up to the level of the vocal cord. And if this is paralyzed, so what I will do is that I will take a different color in this. And if this is paralyzed, I will take a blue color. Remember that paralysis will lead to sudden paroxysmal nocturnal cough and also aspiration. So what does it lead to? It leads to sudden paroxysmal nocturnal cough and aspiration. Have you taken down up to this point? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. So please
Yes,
remember, write like this. This is a very good summary about, in a single page, you will get whatever you need to be written in a single area. So this is in blue color, what happens when this is paralyzed. Now let us talk about that external laryngeal nerve. External laryngeal nerve, however, is a motor nerve. If that was sensory, this is predominantly, now when I say motor, it is not purely motor. This is a predominantly motor nerve and is supplying two muscles. One is called as the cricothyroid muscle, which acts as a tensor of the vocal cord and is responsible for the pitch of the voice. MCQ point, very important. Very important MCQ point. It is responsible for the pitch of the voice. Important in ENT, important in surgery also. It is responsible for pitch of the voice. Okay. And it also supplies partly to the pharyngeal plexus. And it also supplies partly to the pharyngeal plexus. So what is it important for? Pitch of the voice, like ah, oh, ah, like this. So this is the pitch of the voice. That means it's an extremely important nerve. In which profession do you think?
Singing.
Singing.
Only singing. Come on, man. We had an election. It is extremely important not only for singers, maybe for teachers and politicians. Okay, right. So what is important is, let us talk about what happens when this nerve is injured or what happens when there is paralysis of this. So what is the
Sir, pharyngeal
biggest-
plexus take to bone, sir.
So it also supplies a part to the pharyngeal plexus. Okay. Now, pharyngeal plexus supplies the pharynx, which is a motor innervation. We can swallow with the pharynx in that. Now, let us talk about paralysis. Now, what does this mean? But remember, there are other contributes to the pharyngeal plexus. Right? Now, that is again by the 9th nerve, the glossopharyngeal, as well as the 10th, the vagus. Now, let us talk about what happens when this is paralyzed. What happens is something called loss of timbre in the voice. Timbre, not timber. It is timbre of the voice. Loss of timbre of the voice. And the voice becomes husky, monotonous. I am okay, how are you? You are okay, I am okay. So this is called as a monotonous voice. So this is extremely important point for an MCQ purpose and an Viva purpose. Please remember that one. The superior laryngeal nerve injury can lead to these problems. So please take in this point, right? Now let us talk about recurrent laryngeal nerve. Now recurrent laryngeal nerve, the word recurrent by this time you know. The word recurrent means, what is a recurrent laryngeal nerve? It returns. The word recurrent laryngeal nerve means that the recurrent laryngeal nerve is a returning nerve. Okay. So the word recurrent laryngeal nerve is a returning nerve. And remember that the recurrent laryngeal nerve returns by hooking two structures. On the right side, the recurrent laryngeal hooks the right subclavian artery. What does it do? On the right side, it hooks the right subclavian artery. On the right side, what does the structure, does it hook? So it hooks or turns back. On the right side, what is the structure that is hooked? Is the right subclavian artery. On the left side, that means the right subclavian artery is in the neck or the root of the neck. On the left side, it hooks around which structure? Ligamentum arteriosum. Where is this structure present? Hello? Where is this structure present?
Thorax.
It is present in the thorax. Okay. Around, which is this? This is the arch of the aorta. And when this is the arch of the aorta, remember what is the other structure that I'm trying to draw? Is the pulmonary vein. So it is technically something that connects these structures. Okay. So it hooks the ligamentum arteriosum in the thorax. Very good. Now, important point to remember. What does the recurrent laryngeal nerve supply? What does the recurrent laryngeal nerve supply? What type of nerve is a recurrent laryngeal nerve? Sir, recurrent laryngeal nerve contains both sensory as well as the motor. So this is a quick summary about sensory and motor both. If it is motor, it supplies what structure is an MCQ, very common given MCQ. All of you must remember this. What is this structure? Sir, it supplies all the intrinsic muscles of the larynx. What does it supply? It supplies the intrinsic muscles of the larynx, except exactly, except
Cricothyroid.
only one muscle, which is supplied by
External larynx.
External
laryngeal nerve. Okay, so it supplies all the muscles except the intrinsic muscles of the larynx, except the cricothyroid. Right? Good. Now, when it is talking about sensory, what does it supplies? It supplies the larynx. Which part of the larynx? It supplies the part of the larynx starting from the vocal cord and then goes below the level of the vocal cord to reach up to the bronchus or the bifurcation of the bronchus. So please remember that the innervation of the recurrent laryngeal nerve is very great and reaches even up till the carina of this one. Okay. So this is, that means at the level of the vocal cord or this. So the vocal cord technically is that no man's land area, usually supplied by the recurrent laryngeal. Above the recurrent laryngeal, who gives the sensory supply? Who gives the sensory supply?
Internal laryngeal.
Is the internal laryngeal. See the color that I have done. So if you have a color pen with you, sketch pen with you, please remember up to this. Okay, good. Now let us see what happens when there is a paralysis. Now, as I have told, this is a surgery class. I can talk hours on this one, but I am not required to bore you out. You are already bored, sir. We are really bored. So let us talk about some principles. What happens when there is a paralysis? Let me take the blue color, sir. Let me take the paralysis. What happens when there is an injury? I can talk, as I've said, many things. There is a long question in ENT in recurrent laryngeal nerve. We will not be talking like that. We will be talking when there is an unilateral paralysis. That means one-sided injury. What happens? Sir, it leads to something called as hoarseness of voice. Hoarseness of voice. Some people say the voice become, I am okay. So this kind of voice is called as bovine voice. Please remember. Whereas if it is a bilateral injury, remember that leads to stridor and leads to dyspnea. And this is an emergency, and you must do an emergency tracheostomy. So this is, in a summary, what are the nerves around the thyroid? What are the things that you are required to know for an MCQ exam? and for an MBBS exam. Have you taken down this table that I have made, or this flow diagram that I have made for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So yes, sir.
sir, what is stridor?
Stridor.
Yes, sir.
This is stridor, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So the more you read in pediatrics, you will know what is stridor. So this is all about the first part of the story. Have I made you understand up till this point? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Good. So now let us go a little higher up and let us now read about little bit into what is the relationship of these structures. Now, the first thing, as I have said, we have crossed the MBBS barrier. Now I am again delving into the MCQ zone. And now this is for those who are preparing for, remember, this is a pure MCQ area. And this picture that you have in your screens now is technically from a book called as SWOTS 11th edition. So this is a postgraduate picture. So I felt that I should be showing you this picture because you are all very good students. We are talking about the nerve called as external laryngeal nerve. Now tell me, is the external laryngeal nerve a sensory nerve or a motor nerve? The external laryngeal nerve.
Motor nerve.
Motor nerve.
Exactly.
Absolutely
This is
motor
the
nerve.
motor nerve. Very good. What is this motor nerve supplying, sir? What is the
Cricothyroid
structure?
muscle.
Cricothyroid.
Exactly. It is supplying the cricothyroid muscle. Very good. If it is supplying the cricothyroid muscle, okay, if it is supplying the cricothyroid muscle, what is the important structure that it is in relationship to? Now, please see this anatomy very closely. What is the structure that it is in relationship to?
Thyroid artery.
And the superior
And
thyroid vein. So please remember, the main relationship is with the superior thyroid artery and the vein. In around 70% of the patients, please see the first part of the anatomy. What happens is the nerve is more than 1 centimeter away from the upper pole of the thyroid. In 70% of the patients, the nerve is 1 centimeter away from the upper pole of the thyroid. And you get this kind of a picture. This is in 70% of the patients. Okay. Now, so in majority of the cases, where do we ligate the superior thyroid pedicle? Sir, I ligate the superior thyroid pedicle as close to the gland as possible. Where do I ligate the superior thyroid pedicle? It is ligated as close to the superior thyroid pedicle as, as close to the thyroid as possible. Where do you ligate the superior thyroid pedicle? Ligate close to thyroid. Ligate it close to the thyroid. Always remember that. Okay. So this
So
is the
the
first part.
artery and the vein together is known as superior thyroid pedicle.
Yes. The word, sir, pedicle means a bundle. So that means you have the artery and the vein together, which is called a superior thyroid pedicle. So where do you ligate the superior thyroid pedicle? Close to the thyroid. Why is it not away from the thyroid? What will happen if you ligate it away from the thyroid? What nerve will be injured?
So we
The
can
external,
Cricothyroid.
external laryngeal nerve. Very good. Very good. Now, but in, remember, 20% of the cases, please see this anatomy. What is so bad in this anatomy, sir?
External arrangement too close.
Exactly. Please see that the external laryngeal nerve is so close so that when you ligate it close to the pedicle, can you see what is the danger now happening? So this is a very dangerous anatomy. And what is this type of type called as? It is called as a type 2A. What was the previous one called as? Type 1. What was the percentage of people with type 1? 70%. Okay. What is type 2A? What happens in a type 2A? The nerve is very close to the pedicle. Whereas in the last anatomy, 10%, God knows, may God be with you when you are doing this kind of anatomy. Can you see the bad part of the story? By the time you understood this anatomy, the injury has always been done. And this is a type 2B. So let us have a recap about what are the various types. What is a type 1 ELN anatomy? Sir, type 1 is seen in 70%, and this is a very safe type of anatomy. I hope all of you will agree with that. Have I made you understand up till this point?
Yes, sir.
Good. What is the type 2A anatomy? Where the nerve is very close to the pedicle, but remember it can be injured. What is the type 2B? Oh my God, it is below the pedicle and it can also be injured. In these types, this classification comes in your examination as something called as the Cernia classification. This classification is called as the Cernia classification. Is an MCQ, very advanced level MCQ. So I have given you this one also. Have I made you understand this picture? Have you understood this picture?
Yes, sir.
Good, very good. Now tell me, for a quick recap, what happens if the external laryngeal nerve is injured?
The
Hoarseness. So which profession is going to have this change? Is a singer. Okay. Or technically enough, the MCQ that is coming is an opera singer. Hence, this nerve was named after a very famous Italian opera singer called as Galli-Curri nerve. This nerve is called as a Galli-Curri nerve. This is not MBBS. Please remember, if you want to omit this part, be my guest. You can omit this part. But for an MCQ, this is an postgraduate level teaching. Please remember, for an MCQ reason only. This is not an MBBS. In an MBBS exam, don't use these terms. So this is a Galli-Curri nerve. What is the most common anatomy that I have taught about? Type 1. Okay, have I made you understand up till this point? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good.
Sir, type 2A and type 2B তে স্যার লাইগেট করতে হলে কোথায় করতে হবে লাইগেট তাহলে?
Good question, sir. I was trying to avoid the question. Good question. Sir, you have to ligate it again close to the pedicle. But the only point is that be very cautious in finding the nerve. That means it is a challenge to a surgeon to identify the nerve and then ligate. Okay, right? Chalo. Now let us go to the next one. If this is what recurrent laryngeal nerve anatomy is another question that is asked. Now please see the picture number 8. Now this is from a book called Saviston, not Swartz. This is from a book called Saviston. Okay. Now see the first picture. Now you will be taking me through the picture. Okay. Point number 1. This is the right side. This is the left side. Okay. Right. So this is the right side. This is the left side. So let us talk about this picture first. The right side and the left side. Now I will be quickly making a few points and I'll be taking my yellow marker pen to ask you this one. Or no, yellow marker penning. Yes, yellow marker pen will be good enough. So now tell me, what is this structure on the right? I hope you can all identify the right recurrent laryngeal nerve. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me erase this part. Let there not be any confusions. So let me draw the nerve for you so that you are not having any confusion. Okay, and this is the
Yes,
left
sir.
side, right? So I think all of you can
Yes.
see the nerve that I'm trying to draw. Okay, now tell me, what is the structure that is being hooked on the right by the recurrent laryngeal nerve?
Subclavian artery.
Right subclavian, or in this picture what they have shown is a brachiocephalic trunk. Very good. On the left, what is the structure that is being shown?
Arch of aorta.
The arch of the aorta. Beautiful. Or the ligamentum arteriosum, this region. Okay, agreed. Now after it hooks into this, the course of the nerve is in which groove? After it hooks into this, the course of the nerve is in which groove? Is a groove called as brachioesophageal groove. MCQ point again. After it hooks, the nerve passes through which groove? So the nerve passes through the tracheo-esophageal groove and then comes in relationship with what artery? As you can see in this picture, comes in relationship with what artery? Comes in relationship with...
artery.
No, sir, not common carotid. What is this artery?
Sorry, sir.
Superior thyroid.
What? Very good. So it is in relationship with what artery? Inferior thyroid
Inferior.
artery.
Inferior thyroid artery.
So external laryngeal nerve is in relationship with what artery?
Superior thyroid.
Superior thyroid. Recurrent laryngeal nerve is in relationship with what artery?
Inferior thyroid.
Inferior thyroid. So please remember this point. External laryngeal nerve is in relationship with what artery? Superior thyroid. Recurrent laryngeal nerve is in relationship with what artery?
Inferior thyroid.
Inferior thyroid artery. Very good. Now, if you have remembered up till this point, my job is 90% done. Then tell me in this picture that you have drawn. So now tell me, where will I ligate the, that means this is the recurrent laryngeal nerve in this point. So this is the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Okay. If this is the recurrent laryngeal nerve, as you can see, where should you think I should ligate the recurrent, the inferior thyroid artery?
Away from.
Away from the
Very good. Right. Now see this picture. So the conventional teaching was.
Sir, can you please repeat that part?
I will be repeating that part. In this picture, can you see the relationship between the recurrent laryngeal and the inferior thyroid? Yes or no? Can you appreciate the relationship? That
Yes, sir.
it is very closely related with the inferior thyroid artery. Have everyone agreed to this? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So the conventional teaching was superior thyroid is ligated close to the gland, whereas inferior thyroid is ligated away from the gland. So that is what we were taught in anatomy. I do not know whether they teach you this one also now. But if you do this, what is the danger that you are going into?
Parathyroid supply will be cut off.
Exactly. If you do this, remember that the biggest danger is there will obviously be an injury to and death of the parathyroid, which is something that I cannot afford because this is the only blood supply of the parathyroid. I will again repeat. If you ligate the inferior thyroid artery, remember what is the organ whose blood supply is permanently lost?
Parathyroid gland.
Is the parathyroid. So, will you ligate it away from the gland? The answer is
No.
no. Hence, what I will do is that I will identify each of these branches and then I will ligate something called as capsular branches of the inferior thyroid artery. Please keep this in your notes. So whenever you are asked this point in exam, where do you ligate the inferior thyroid artery? Where do you ligate the inferior thyroid artery? What is the point that I have made? Sir,
Capsular branches.
Exactly. I need to identify each branch and then I need to ligate the capsular branches. So that means if I give you an MCQ asking, where is the inferior thyroid ligated? Away from the gland, close to the gland. What is your answer?
Close to the.
Close.
Exactly.
gland.
Where is the superior thyroid artery ligated? Away from the gland, close to the gland.
Close to the.
Close to the gland.
Close to the gland. Please remember this point for an MCQ. Have I made you understand this point till now?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. So this is the major point to remember for an exam. Close to the gland, both of them are ligated to that. When you talk about the middle thyroid vein, so everything is ligated again. So for remembering, this is also ligated close to the gland. So the inferior thyroid vein, remember, is ligated close to the gland also. So the inferior thyroid vein, very sorry. The middle thyroid vein is ligated close to the gland also. The inferior thyroid veins are also ligated close to the gland. So that means if I ask you for an exam, where are the vascular structures of the thyroid ligated? What is
Close to
your
the gland.
single answer? Close to the gland.
Close to the gland.
Can you remember up till this point?
Yes.
Good. So that removes all confusions. So this is the first basic thing that everyone has to know. Now, little bit of an advanced picture for exams. Now, see this kind of an anatomy. Okay. Now, tell me about what is the interesting thing that you see in this picture.
Right recurrent laryngeal is.
What is
Sir,
what is right? Now tell me
arch
what
of
is so
মানে ये arterial arches এর deformity আছে তাই না? Because the right
okay,
subclavian
very
vein is
good, very good. Someone noticed that. I'm really, you should get a chocolate, sir. Can you notice that there is an interesting picture? If this is what is a normal anatomy, you say, oh my God, so easy. Is this a normal anatomy? No. See, oh my God, how many different is this? So different. What is this problem? What is this thing? For extremely good students, you may omit this if you do not like this part. No, sir. Sir, the right subclavian has gone behind the trachea. Can you see that? The right subclavian, this is what is a normal anatomy. This is an abnormal anatomy. So the right subclavian is behind that and compresses esophagus. And do you know in ENT what is this condition called as?
Dysphagia lusoria.
Very good. So this is called as a dysphagia lusoria. Extremely important MCQ point. But in a patient with a dysphagia lusoria, what happens to the right recurrent laryngeal nerve? Is it recurrent anymore?
No, in the thorax.
Okay, it is not recurrent anymore. It is called a recurrent laryngeal nerve on the right side. So please appreciate that you can have something called as a non-recurrent laryngeal nerve. Where is the non-recurrent laryngeal nerve seen? It is seen on the right side. And another important point, if the recurrent laryngeal nerve is vertical, what is the disposition of this patient? What is a non-recurrent laryngeal nerve? Is it vertical or is it horizontal? It is
Horizontal.
And is said to be seen in 1% of the patients according to Sariston. So please remember. So a non-recurrent laryngeal nerve is an important entity for an MCQ exam, not an MBBS exam, please. So forget, if you want to forget this picture, be my guest. No need of knowing that. Okay. Chalo. So we have done that.
Is a horizontal arrangement is seen in 1% of the people or
Yes.
non-recurrent? Okay.
Sir, both of them are the same. Horizontal is equal to non-recurrent, sir. It is seen in 1%. Okay. Have
Sir,
I made you understand?
স্যার
Yes, sir.
তাহলে তো নন রেকারেন্ট ল্যারিঞ্জিয়াল নার্ভ থাকলে সেটা মিডল থাইরয়েড ভেনের সাথে প্রিডিসপোজিশন করতে পারে।
Very intelligent thing. Extremely, I'm very impressed. What he has said to say is one among the most important thing. That means on the right side, there is only one structure that is running transversely. I'm impressed, sir. This is the middle thyroid vein. So what he has proposed is a beautiful thing. If you get another structure which is running transversely on the right, what is that structure that is there in this side? Is a non-recurrent laryngeal nerve. Good. Extremely impressed. Have I made you understand up till these points? Hello.
Yes.
Have I, right?
Yes.
Because see, as I have told, we have gradually increased your level to the toughest of tough MCQs also have been discussed with references from big books. Now we are gradually completing this part. So let us talk about lymphatic drainage and then we talk about thyroidectomy. Let us talk about lymphatic drainage of the thyroid. Now, it is very difficult to make you understand lymphatic drainage today. What I will do is that I will write a few things. So if you can remember that, I will be very happy. Majority of the lymphatic drainage goes to precricoid lymph nodes, which are also called as Delphian node. MCQ, very common question. MCQ, very common question. So it is called as a precricoid lymph node or a Delphian node. What does the word Delphian mean? MBBS Viva, good students, that means unknown purpose. Delphi was an island in Greece in the Mediterranean. Bailey loved data. So remember, the purpose of this lymph node is unknown. It was unknown. Now we know that this is a node. Okay. And then it goes to something called pretracheal lymph node. LN is lymph node. Okay. And these groups of lymph node together, according to the lymph node nomenclature, will be called as level 6. Okay. So what is the
Sir,
first
can you
level
repeat,
of,
sir?
right, sir?
Yes.
So the
Can you repeat the
lymphatic
lymphatic?
drainage of the thyroid, what is the first tier of lymph node that is involved? What is the first group of node that is involved? Is the precricoid. I'm bad with spelling. CRICOID, precricoid lymph node. What is the other name for precricoid lymph node? Is a Delphian node. Okay. After that, what does it drain into? After that, what does it drain into? Pretracheal lymph node. And what are these levels of lymph nodes called as? Level 6. This is a very important MCQ question for all and has come multiple times. Please remember
So
this part.
both precricoid and pretracheal are known as level 6 together.
Exactly, sir. They are both called as level 6. Okay. Now, the next part is after that, it can go to level 2 or level 3, or level 2 can go to level 3, and then it goes to level 4. Now, it is very difficult for you to understand. I know that because these are new things that are coming up. But yes, believe me, when we'll be reading about head, neck, and I'll be talking about thyroid cancers, I will be making you understand what are these levels, what is neck dissections around these parts. But for today, please keep these notes into this one. And then thereafter, so this is usually the lymphatic drainage of the lymph nodes, and then it goes to the blood.
Can you repeat once, please?
Right, sir. So what is the lymphatic drainage of the thyroid? What is the first tier of lymph node? Tier mane first group of lymph node. Some American books called it as echelon of lymph nodes. ECHLOEN. Okay, so what is the first group? It is precricoid. What is the arrow going from precricoid to pretracheal? From pretracheal and precricoid, what is this thing called as? Level 6. Thereafter, where is the arrow going to? Level 2, level 3, and level 4. Okay. Have I made you understand till this point, sir?
So what
Hello?
is echelon?
Echelon is an American name for a group, tier. Okay. So in your train compartments, don't you see lower berth, middle berth, upper berth? Isn't it? So the lower berth is a lower echelon, middle berth, middle echelon, upper berth, upper echelon. Okay. Understood till this point? Oh, did you understand till this
Sir,
point?
why?
Why?
Excuse me, sir. Sir, why from
Yes, sir.
level
Why?
6 to level 3, level 2,
This
3
is a
and
very
4?
difficult thing for me to tell you today. When we will be talking about a thyroid cancer, then believe me, I will be talking about all of these. Don't worry. I will be talking about all these echelons, these nodes, and this part. Yes, I think I have a picture with me today. Now see, this is a picture, one part from Bailey Love and another part from this. Now see this picture, if you just a quick summary about this one. In this picture, where should I draw the thyroid gland? I hope all of you will agree with me that this is the area the thyroid gland is. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now tell me, what is the first area that this lymphatics will go to? This is the precricoid, pretracheal. So this is level 6. Then it will go to which level?
Level 2.
Level 2. Or it can go to which level? Level 3. And then it will go to which level? Level 4. Okay. So for you, today you are required to remember up till this. The more we read, the more you will get, particularly medullary thyroid cancers, MEN syndromes. We'll talk more about those things later. Okay. So this is the first part to remember about what about the lymphatic drainage. So for your notes, this is sufficient. Now let us talk about operations of the thyroid. The next class we will start with on the post-operative complications. So today we will end with the operations of thyroid, and in the next class, as I have said, we will talk about the other parts. So when you talk about the operations of the thyroid, few basic principles that you should know. The first of all in operations are nomenclature, because when we'll be talking about the diseases of the thyroid in the next class, I need to be very clear about you knowing about what are the operations and what are the various parts of the structures to know. Now, in nomenclature, understand the story. If I remove both the lobes of the thyroid and the pyramidal lobe, both the lobes of the thyroid and the pyramidal lobe, this procedure is called as a total thyroidectomy. What is it called as? It is called as total thyroidectomy. I think it is easy to remember. Total thyroidectomy. Okay, good. So what is total thyroidectomy? What are the two structures that are removed? Lobe plus isthmus plus lobe. Okay, what is the other thing that is attached to the isthmus? Pyramidal lobe. How many people have a pyramidal lobe? MCQ?
50%.
50%.
Okay. In which disease condition is the removal of the pyramidal lobe mandatory?
Papillary carcinoma and Graves' disease.
Graves' disease. In which condition is pyramidal lobe removal mandatory? Is a papillary cancer and a Graves' disease. Please remember this part. This is an MCQ, and hence you have to remember. Okay. Now, the next point is, if this is total thyroidectomy, there is another term called as a near total thyroidectomy. Now, there are confusions into that. Hence, as I've told you, I will talk from Sabiston. What is a near total, not lobectomy, sorry, sir. What is a near total thyroidectomy? What is a near total thyroidectomy? Now, near total thyroidectomy means understand the picture and then see the picture, understand, and then write, please. This is one lobe. So let me draw this quickly for you. Okay. Now see the picture. On one side, I have removed the full lobe. I have removed the isthmus. Another side, I have removed majority of the lobe, except that I have kept the other sided 1 to 2 grams. Other side. That means what is the part that has been removed? Now let us talk maths again. What is a near total thyroidectomy? One lobe is removed, isthmus is removed, okay? Other lobe, majority of the other lobe is removed. How much of the part will remain? What is the remaining part? What is the remaining side on the other side? It is 1 to 2 grams. Okay, right. So this is the diseased lobe. This is the isthmus and the majority of the opposite lobe. So what is a near total thyroidectomy? lobe that is diseased, say for example, this is a tumor, isthmus everyone understands, and this is the other sided lobe, which is said to be normal. When you talk about thyroid cancers, you will get these concepts more better. Have I made you understand up till this point, sir? Have you understood what is a near total thyroidectomy? Hello?
Sir, can you
Good.
repeat, sir, near total thyroid?
Okay. What is removed is the part of the lobe on one side. What is there in the part of the lobe? What is the picture that I have drawn? It contains the disease. What is this side, sir, I have drawn? Is the isthmus. And what is this thing, sir, that I have drawn? Is half of the lobe or majority of the opposite lobe. What is the remaining tissue? The remaining tissue is 1 to 2 grams. Have I made you understand? Hello?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, diseased লোবটাকে পুরোটা রিমুভ করা হচ্ছে না only diseased part?
No, sir, the full lobe is removed. You are not
Okay.
going to keep anything. Please see this picture. The full lobe is removed with isthmus and the majority. So this is a near total thyroidectomy. Agreed? Until have you understood up till this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now let us talk about another procedure which is very controversial. Oh, but before that, I should talk about something called as what is a hemithyroidectomy and what is a lobectomy. What is a hemithyroidectomy and what is a lobectomy? What is a hemithyroidectomy and what is a lobectomy? For me, majority of this is the same. That means if you have removed only a lobe, that means the lobe is removed, that is called as a lobectomy. Hemithyroidectomy will remove the lobe and the isthmus. Lobe plus isthmus is called as hemithyroidectomy. This, sir, is Bailey love. The problem is that unnecessarily people have made such confusions which are really not required. If you are doing a lobectomy, tell me, you will always take out the isthmus also. It becomes easier for the technique and the hemostasis. But for you to remember, this is the nomenclature. Okay? Any confusions till now? Because we are going to the last of the confusion topics. Any confusions till now? Hello?
Sir, near total thyroidectomy, sir, problem.
Near total thyroidectomy. Sir, near total thyroidectomy is you remove the lobe which is diseased, you remove the isthmus which is involved, and you remove the opposite lobe in majority. And what is the thing that you keep in the human body? What is the thing that you preserve in the human body? Sir, what I preserve is the remaining 1 to 2 grams of the tissue. So what I preserve is 1 to 2 grams of the tissue. Okay, right. So this completes. Have I made you understand till now? Hello?
Sir, in lobectomy, sir, in
Yes, sir.
hemithyroidectomy, if there is pyramidal lobe, we remove the pyramidal lobe as well, or we let it.
No,
be there?
sir, no, sir. In hemithyroidectomy, come on, lobectomy is only lobe, sir. What is
Okay.
preserved in a lobectomy? The
Isthmus.
opposite lobe and the isthmus. Okay. Pyramidal lobe, you have to remove the pyramidal lobe. Definitely, what are the diseases that you take the pyramidal lobe?
The papillary carcinoma.
Papillary
is a-
carcinoma and thyroid Graves disease.
And Graves. And in these two conditions, remember that what is the operation that you are technically doing?
Total thyroidectomy.
Total thyroidectomy. Okay, right. Now the last of the two confusions is something called subtotal thyroidectomy. Now this is a very favorite MBBS question as well as an MCQ. And if you are wondering why am I telling you so many MCQs today, because this is a high yield zone of an MCQ. Multiple MCQs have come across time from this chapter on thyroid. And if you have started reading your MCQ, wow, this is one among this one. What is done in a subtotal thyroidectomy is that, understand the procedure. Subtotal thyroidectomy, I will shade this one so that you understand this procedure better for the purpose. So I am not good in drawing, so please forgive my baby-like drawing. Okay, so I'm not too good in drawing pictures right now. So what is subtotal thyroidectomy? What I have done is that I have removed half of one lobe, and I have removed the rest of the gland. Okay. Have I made you understand till this point? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Right? So what have I removed? Sir, I have removed half of one lobe plus the isthmus and the half of other lobe. Have I made you understand into that? Hello? Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes,
So
sir.
what have you preserved in the body? What have you kept in the body then?
Half of one lobe to
Half of one lobe, half of one lobe. Now see, this terminology is very confusing. You are not going to measure the size of a one lobe by itnas, millimeter, centimeter, kilometers. And what is half to you is 3/4 to me. So what we have done is that we say that thus in this one, remember that on this side, what we keep is 2 grams on the right and 2 grams on the left. Okay. So half of one lobe is equal to 2 grams on the right and 2 grams on the left. Now you will argue with me, sir, how can we measure 2 grams? So that means one of my residents told me an interesting story. After cutting the thyroid, before cutting the thyroid, we'll weigh the patient 100 kilos. And after taking out the thyroid, you again weigh the patient 96 kilos. Again, it will be 100 or 99 point some kilos. It is not exactly like that. So how do you measure the 2 grams? The amount of the tissue that is of a thumb size. You say, array, interesting idea. This is a thumb size. Now the examiner smiles at you and asks you, whose thumb? Your thumb, patient's thumb, or the anesthesiologist's thumb? Then you laugh again and say that, sir, it is the amount of the tissue in the tracheo-esophageal groove. It is the amount of the tissue that is preserved in the tracheo-esophageal groove. It is the amount of the tissue in the tracheo-esophageal groove. Have I made you understand till this point? Hello? Have I made you understand till this point?
Sir,
Hello?
can you
Sir,
repeat that thumb?
Last
Repeat.
part, sir.
Okay, let us repeat again. What is subtotal thyroidectomy? Half of one lobe, isthmus, and half of another lobe. What is half of one lobe corroborated to? What is half of one lobe corroborating to? 2 grams. What is the gross measurement of 2 grams? 1 thumb. Okay. Now, you are not going to place your thumb on that and measure that. So what is something that we do is that after the end of the operation, if this is the tracheal ring, then we preserve this amount of tissue. Where is this tissue present? Where is this tissue present? In which area is this tissue present?
Tracheo-esophageal groove.
Groove. So I have given you, remember that the reason about telling you like this is that there has been multiple MCQs across time that have asked you all the 4 choices. The latest choice that is given in Sabiston and Swartz both, what is a subtotal thyroidectomy? What is the amount of the tissue preserved? 2 grams. In which area did you preserve the tissue? In the tracheo-esophageal groove. Now tell me, what is the structure that is thus preserved by this beautiful procedure? What is the structure that you are trying to preserve?
Recurrent laryngeal.
Exactly. So this is a procedure that is done to preserve what structure? Now, I hope I have made you understand this part. Hello. Have you understood
Yes,
this
sir.
part? Good.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
there are multiple confusions even in many people giving MCQs and my residents also who do not understand this concept very well. Are you clear with this concept? Why did I
Yes,
do a
sir.
subtotal? Right. The final concept from Bailey Love is something not in American books, British books, called as Hartley-Dunhill's procedure. What is the Hartley? Hartley-Dunhill procedure. What is a Hartley-Dunhill procedure? Hartley-Dunhill requires a removal of, remember, what is the amount of thyroid gland that is preserved in a near total thyroidectomy?
1 to 2
What
grams
is-
of one
1 to
lobe.
2 gram.
Okay, which side?
Sir,
Unaffected side.
Any
Non
of
disease.
the side.
Unaffected side.
Opposite
Very good. That means, now see that, what is Hartley-Dunhill? See the procedure. It is exactly like a near total thyroidectomy, except that, please see the area that I am going to remove now. I am going to remove the diseased lobe. Okay. I'm going to remove the isthmus. And I am also going to remove the part of the opposite lobe, but now I am going to preserve 4 to 6 grams of tissue. So now tell me, what is a Hartley-Dunhill? Hartley-Dunhill is removal of a diseased lobe. It is removal of the isthmus and removal of the opposite lobe with preservation of, how much is preserved? How much will you preserve? 4 to 6 grams. Okay, right. So what is the difference between a Hartley-Dunhill with a near total thyroidectomy?
The amount of
Total only 1 to 2 grams of.
Near
Contrary
total
to
only
this
1 to 2 grams are preserved. In a Hartley-Dunhill, how much will you preserve in a Hartley-Dunhill? Is 4 to 6. Okay, right. Which one do you think should be done for a cancer patient? Near total?
Subtotal.
near to
Total, sir.
Cancer. Array.
Near total.
Near total.
Near total. Definitely in a cancer patient, which one do you think will be the ideal operation?
sir, total.
Exactly. This is a very common MCQ. In a cancer patient, thyroid cancer, which is your operation of choice?
Total.
Exactly. In a cancer patient, your operation of choice is a total thyroidectomy. But, if you want to go in for the compromise, what is your second operation that you can do? Is a near total. Okay, but you should not be doing that. I do not do that. I always believe in doing a total thyroidectomy. Have I made you understand till this point? Hello.
yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
All good up till this point?
Yes.
Good. Right. So this is all about the first part of the procedure. So any confusion still now, because I took a long class the first day. I think that we have talked all things about anatomy. So the next class, remember, we will be starting the day with operative procedures. That means the operative steps of a thyroid surgery.
So please
As-
repeat last part of subtotal thyroidectomy.
Last part of subtotal thyroidectomy. Okay, last part of subtotal thyroidectomy. Which one did you require, sir? Which one do you require in subtotal?
After the tissue of tracheoesophageal.
After the tissue tracheoesophageal group. Now see, can you see the picture in this tracheoesophageal group story? Can you see this dot thing? That means the thyroid gland. And what is this line that is running in the tracheoesophageal groove? What is the line that is running in the tracheoesophageal groove? What is the structure? Is a recurrent laryngeal nerve. So why do we do a subtotal thyroidectomy? what is the organ or what is the structure that is preserved while doing a subtotal thyroidectomy? What is the structure that is preserved in a subtotal thyroidectomy? What is your opinion? What is the structure that is preserved in a subtotal thyroidectomy?
The nerve.
The nerve. Which nerve, sir? Bilateral leccarolaryngeal nerve. Right? Okay. So the next class then we'll talk about something called operative steps of thyroid, as we will be requiring for an MBBS operative card, because you haven't, remember in exam 20 marks of operative, we'll be talking about the steps of thyroid surgery. I'll be showing you pictures, and then we will be talking for MCQ reasons something called as
Excuse me,
neck. Yes, sir.
Sir, can you please repeat that CDA classification again?
Okay. We'll be repeating
Type
just only
1,
one
type 2,
request.